Hi, welcome back. So this is Guitar Beginner, and we are going to do three things today. Number one, we're going to do the minor pentatonic scale. Number two, we're going to do a slight, and I mean one note variation of that called the blues scale. And then we're going to talk about the rhythm of the blues. We're going to do this in a single 30-minute stream. So we're just going to go straight from 0 to 30, and then you can take 30 minutes to work on all the material. So we're just going to shoot for it. And if we stop maybe at 25, it's fine. So let's jump right in, okay? The minor pentatonic scale, I'm going to teach you as a pattern in your left hand. So hopefully everything is ready to go with your guitar. If it isn't, let's go back to the very basic, okay? So pull up your tuner and make sure that every note is under standard tuning. So standard tuning means E is the top note. Second string is going to be the A note. Third string is D. Fourth is G. And second to last is B. And then E is your last one. Remember, the E at the bottom is the same as E at the top. Okay? So make sure everything's in tune, just like we've studied. And now we're going to start right away with the minor pentatonic pattern. So with your left hand, I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see now what's going on here. Okay. So with your left hand, let's just arbitrarily choose the 5th fret. So that's A. You probably know this already from your logic and your countless hours of studying this dang thing. So the top string is E, right? And as long as you remember that there is nothing between B and C, and there's nothing between E and F, then you should be able to climb your way up from note to note and figure out what this note is, right? So the first one would be E. Then moving up, we would have F, because there's nothing between E and F. Then we have F sharp, G, G sharp, and A. So that's an A note. If you need to, look at your piano. But for this, we really don't need it. We're not going to focus too much on the theory, we're just going to go into what the pattern feels like, because it's very easy, it's very fun, and it's arguably the most powerful thing you'll ever learn on guitar. Aside from just like knowing the notes, right? Okay, so here's A, and that's your index finger. Make sure that your fingers correspond to each fret. So the middle finger will come to the next fret, the ring finger on the next one, and the pinky on the last one there. So they all get their own fret. That means that for this minor pentatonic scale, we're going to have our index on 5 and our pinky on 8. And that's going to stay consistent. All right, so let's go through the pattern. First, index. And you might want to write this down. So index, pinky. Then you go down to the next string, onto the A string. Index, ring. So notice my ring finger is on the 7th fret. Next string, index, ring. Next string, index, ring. And the last two are going to be index, pinky. So on the B string, E, index, pinky, index, pinky. It's really a simple but extremely powerful scale. It's called the minor pentatonic scale, okay? It's really actually useful to go through the notes, but for now I just want you to get it in your hand. So practice this a couple times. I'll do it again a little faster. Index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, and index, pinky. And then go back, of course, so pinky, index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, and pinky, indexa. All right. Now, what you should be doing as you're playing these kinds of scales is working on having fun with it too, right? It should be fun and kind of interesting. Make it flashy. Maybe repeat a couple notes. Maybe screw up and then see if you can cover it up with some mud. I don't know. So. Okay, and then you just go at it. So you change up your speed. Right? You just engage your creativity and do whatever comes to you. Now, if you're not sure what you should do, because, I don't know, maybe you have a lot of cool ideas, but you're not sure how to execute them. Keep it simple, remember. Even in your head, you can just say in your mind, maybe it works for you, it works for me. I'll just say, bend! Like there's a voice in my head going, bend! And at that moment, I just actually do the bend technique. And so you might recall that from a couple weeks ago, where you pull on that string with your finger, and you can combine this with some cool stuff. Like you can bend this and then do a pull off. So you can go, hear that? So that's kind of a cool technique. You can also do some slides. You can do some muting, which is what I started with. And remember, with that muting, I'm just using the right side of my right hand palm. So the flesh of this is actually covering the string while I play. If I had my hand out in space, it'd be, and you would hear all those notes. But the muting with this part of the hand right here, you don't hear as much. Okay. Alrighty, so let me just change this angle so you can see a different variations, right? So now later on you're going to move to, that's a weird way to start, now or later on. Now or later, great candy. So you can play this anywhere, and that's the benefit of writing down your fingers instead of writing down the notes. Now you could of course be a genius and write down the notes and understand the space between those notes is always the same. That's called an interval. And that's something we're going to study next class. I'm really excited for that one. So for now, we do. And we just get used to that because you're going to need it. You're going to need it for jams. You're going to need it for parties when people ask you to play guitar. Because even if they just said, hey, Justin Bieber, can you play that guitar? And be like, yeah, I'm Justin Bieber, I can do anything. So you grab the guitar and you're not really sure what you're doing, but you for some reason remember the minor pentatonic scale and you're just like, oh yeah, that's right, the index pinky thing. And you just start doing that for like 45 minutes straight. And I guarantee people are just going to be staring right at you the whole time with mouths agape. So. Right, you just do that for 45 minutes straight. Okay. Eventually you'll get bored, which is where we do a slight variation of this, which is called the blues scale. So actually the minor pentatonic is pretty bluesy, if you ask me. Like I associate this sound with the blues, and most people do. But there is a slight variation that will give it more blues credence, so it will lend itself to actually being blues. And the way we do that is we do this little chromatic walk down. When I say chromatic, what I mean is colorful, yeah, but what I mean is including notes that don't normally belong. Maybe that's a way to put it. So making it a little interesting, we can go, right, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, or 1, flat 3, yeah, 4, 5. So what happens is when you normally play index pinky, index ring, on our way down, we're going to include our middle finger on the A string here. So what it looks like is if I go up, index, pinky, index, ring, but on my way down, I'm going to include this middle finger. So I'm going to step down chromatically, stepwise. We go. You hear that? Now that is pretty thickly the blues. Most people just know that sound. So let me zoom in so you can really see this. So here on the 5th fret. So I'm going index, pinky, index, ring, and as I'm coming down, I'm stepping down onto my middle finger here. So if you include that every time you practice, it'll be like, so, right? Cool. So now you can repeat that. So you can do it here on the A string, but you can also do it on a different string. So let's find where that would be. And let's also find out what that note is. That'll help us actually. So here we have the A note. And I'm just going to give you the notes now. So write them down if you have to. A is your index. Now this is C on your pinky. Okay, so index, pinky, A, C. next note, now that we're all cooled off from the AC, we go to the A string on the 5th fret. That gives us D, right? So we got A, C, D, C, right? A, C, D, C? No, okay, so A, C, D, E, or is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, so A, C, D, E. And as we step down, we're actually including this E flat. This is a good moment to stop and remind you that E flat is exactly the same as D sharp. If you know that this guy right here is D, or girl, and this gal or guy is E, then there's something in between them, right? When you're looking at the keyboard, you're like, wait, there's that black note in between. That is this fret for this A string right here. That position is either D sharp or E flat. It's the same thing, just different names for the same thing. Okay, so enough giving you the middle finger. Let's move down. So this is E flat, D, C, A, and that is the descending blues scale. Let's keep going up so that we can find the next one. We're looking for an E flat, right? A, C, D, E. We're skipping over that E flat because we're not going down. The next one is going to be G, and then we have A again. And as you might recall from the start, right, A, C, we're going to do the same thing. So it's going to repeat the same exact thing. This is A, we need a C, that's there, then D, and then we need an E, which is up here on the B string 5th fret. And as we climb down, we need that E flat. So if this one right here on the G string 9th fret was, oh gosh, what happened here? A, B, that's A, C, D, right? Okay. So we're going E, D, but we need an E flat. So as we're coming down, we're going to include the pinky up here on the G string on the 8th fret. That gives us the E flat we're looking for. So B string, 5th fret gives us E, and on our way down we include pinky on G string, then ring finger, then index. And the A string, the A note on the D string 9th fret is, or 7th fret is the final point for that octave. So let's go from the very top, let's go from this A. From this A note, we're going to step down with our pinky, then index. And remember, we're going to use this pinky here for that blues scale. Then ring, then index. Ring, index, ring, middle finger, index, pinky, index. So now I'll walk you through. Now that we've done the logic and figured out where we need to put those E flats, the first of which is right here on the A string 6th fret, and the second of which was with that pinky on the G string 8th fret. Now that we know that we need to include those, let's do it. So we're going to do the minor pentatonic all the way up, same as before, and on our way back, we're going to include these extra notes. We're going to include that E flat on the G string and the E flat on the A string. Okay, let's do it. So, index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, index, pinky. Here we go down, so don't forget those E flats. Pinky, index, pinky, index. Don't forget the pinky. Then ring, then index. Then ring, index, ring, middle, index, pinky, and index. So try that one out for a while. That'll actually get pretty fun for you. So. And this will get you closer and closer to the Pink Panther theme, because the Pink Panther theme is kind of like a jazzy blues scale. All right, so that is the minor pentatonic. That is the blues scale, the blues variation of the minor pentatonic, which is kind of confusing because minor pentatonic is bluesy as heck, right? So what's up with that? Well, musicians love to have several names for the same thing. Academia. All right, so last thing for the day is the actual rhythm of blues. And then I think we'll close with a very brief chord progression for you so you can practice and play the scale as well. So the blues rhythm is kind of like a dotted quarter note with an eighth note. And you're thinking, what? Yeah, so, or I guess you can think of it as like a dotted eighth with a 16th or whatever. So You're like, what the heck is that? What are these words you're saying? Now, for those of you who are music theory savvy, you're happy with that terminology because you're like, oh yeah, I got this. I had that on flute like when I was 6. I got it now. But for the rest of you, you're like, what the heck is a dotted? What are Dalmatians doing in guitar class? Well, I'm going to teach you more about the rhythm terminology and the rhythm notation. So the things you actually write down to tell you exactly what to play and how in another class. Once we have the physical stuff under our belt, we can kind of go back to the brain. So to do this rhythm, this dotted quarter eighth or the dotted eighth 16th, I really just have to illustrate it. So if you cover all your strings gently and just focus on the right hand, it'll be like this. And I'm sure you've heard that rhythm before, that dun, dun, dun. If I include some chords, you'll definitely hear it. So that's the blues, right? And that rhythm is very easy to copy. It's dun, 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 dun. I think of it as like a drunk person stumbling. I almost said drunk guy, but you know, I don't know what the statistical average is for drunk people. So let's just say drunk person or drunk robot. That's kind of a cool idea, Bender. So be like Bender and watch Futurama. Be like Bender and stumble a little bit. That's what blues is about. It's that kind of feeling of I'm stumbling around. It's like one of your legs is dramatically shorter than the other, so you're kind of making a fool of yourself out in public, right? Although I guess if it wasn't your fault, you're not a fool. But anyway, to the point. You've got this blues thing going on. You've got the minor pentatonic scale, you got the blues scale, and you've got this rhythm. How do you tie it all together? Well, that's kind of what we do in advanced guitar, which is going to be soon enough for you. For now, you got to get the simple basics under your hand, and once you've got that automatic and you're on autopilot and you're bored out of your mind, you can move on and do your integration into the chord changes and into the solos and the scales. So last thing I'll leave you with is what I just did, and then we'll call it a day. So all I did there was I played the movable E shape, which I taught you before. And let's blitz through it. So the first chord I played was an E chord. You can play E major or minor, but in this case I played E major. And it did that rhythm. Now the next thing I did, actually with this position, my index was free. With this, I slid up to put a bar on the 5th fret, which gave me A. Then I slid up to B. I didn't do it in that order, but I did go from E and slide to B, which is on the 7th fret, so my bar was on the 7th fret. I stepped down to that A, and then I slid back to E. And that's the whole circuit. So you can practice that on your own and have great fun with it, because once you got that, you've got a basic song and you've got the blues under your hand, which is what we wanted. So take this time to go practice not only those 3 chords, but also the blues scale, the minor pentatonic scale, and when you're really feeling confident, you can play any of those scales in any place you want. So it doesn't have to be on the 5th fret. That's why I gave you index, pinky, and so on and so forth, right? You can do that anywhere as long as you know that consistent pattern. All right, enough talky, go play. And I'll see you in the next class. Bye.